All right, let me ask you something. How many times in the last year did you start something? Maybe it was a new practice, a new plan, a new direction, and then you stopped. Not because you decided it was wrong, because really you decided it was the momentum. Your momentum just kind of disappeared, right? And most people, when that happens, they blame themselves and they tell the story of the person who, can't follow through, who isn't disciplined enough, who doesn't get excited, or maybe gets too excited and then loses steam, right? So I want to offer you today a completely different story, because what I know from neuroscience, from all the years of working with women and men who are in midlife transition, and from, of course, personal experience, is that what I described is not a character flaw, it's a biology problem, and biology problems have solutions. This is Too Late My Ass. I'm Faye Chappell, and today we're talking about momentum. Again, the real version, not the Instagram version.
Ever feel like life passed you by while you were being responsible? Like everyone else got a head start on success, on happiness or purpose, and now you're just trying not to fall asleep during your own life. Well, welcome to Too Late My Ass. This is the podcast for anyone who's ever thought it was too late to dream again, to build again, or begin again. So spoiler alert, it's not. I'm Faye Chappell, and I'm here to help you burn the rule book, rewrite the script, and become the main character in your next chapter. So whether you're 39, 49, 59, or 79, this isn't about getting your groove back. It's about finally giving yourself permission to freaking exist exactly as you are. So hit subscribe, tell that inner critic to take several seats, and let's make this your comeback era, because too late, my ass.
So before we get into it, I do want to tell you about something that's coming that you might get excited about, because on April the 6th, we're launching the Defiant Second Act Challenge, and it's a 21-day identity reinvention challenge that uses everything that I know about neuroscience, about habit formation, and identity architecture to help you build momentum that doesn't collapse on day 4. We've been talking about momentum for quite a while here on Too Late My Ass, and I'm still getting the same feedback, and you wanted sort of a structured plan. So everything I'm going to talk about today is a scientific foundation of how the challenge was designed, okay? So stay with me, because this is practical, this is real, and this is going to make the challenge make sense in a way it wouldn't otherwise, okay? So when you start this challenge, the reason we designed it was so that you would finally stick with it. And I know people need that to be able to go forward. So you can get there if you go to toolatemyass.com/21 days second act challenge. Then it's there. It's free. Tell your friends. We can't wait to see you there. But for today, let's get started. Let's talk about momentum, because most people talk about momentum like it's a feeling. You get excited, you take action, you feel good about it. You do more. And yes, that's part of the loop, but it's not the foundation of it. Momentum, neurologically, is a pattern of reinforcement. It's really between your prefrontal cortex and the part that it's the part that plans and decides. It's kind of your reward system, right? It's the part that runs on dopamine. Oh yeah, I love that word. And then when those two systems are in sync, action feels really natural. One thing leads to the next. You don't have to fight yourself really to do the work. You just go and do it. But when they're out of sync, right, which is what happens after prolonged stress, or maybe you're having burnout or grief, right? Or just really years of operating in survival mode, the action feels like it's really wading through concrete, right? I used to talk about trudging through mud, as actually that's what I used to call PCs versus Macs. But anyway, you have the intention, you have the desire, right? But the signal between what I want to do, like I want to do this and I'm doing this, it's a little bit weak, right? It's a little bit interrupted or inconsistent. And it's not laziness. It is really depleted. It's a depleted system. And for most men or women who are 45 to 60 or above, that depletion is not theoretical. It's the result of decades of putting everyone else's momentum before their own. So the research on this is not subtle. Chronic stress, the kind that comes from careers that required you to really absorb pressure rather than create, from caretaking roles, which a lot of us are in right now, from relationships where you needed to come last. That suppresses that dopamine sensitivity, right? And your brain literally becomes less responsive to reward, less motivated by the future, and less able to really feel the pull of what's still possible, right? And then someone tells you, just get motivated and find your why and think positive. So I want to be very clear about something. That advice is not wrong for everyone. It's just wrong for you because your nervous system is not the same as that 25-year-old startup founder who wrote the book, right? Your history is different. Your biology is different. Your starting point is different. And the solution has to match the actual problem. So, what does it actually take? I've been working on this for, 25 years, and I've landed on 3 things. They're non-negotiable. They're not optional. They are structural requirements for you to have sustainable momentum in our favorite second act. And that's why you're here, right? So first, you have to have physical movement that is intentional. I'm not talking about a workout routine. I'm not talking about a step count. I hate those. I'm talking about moving your body with intention, even briefly, every single day. Because what that does neurologically is it signals your lymphatic system that you are a person in motion, right? And your identity follows that signal. So if you sit still long enough, your nervous system starts to read that as information, like, not she's resting, but this is who she is. And that label of stillness gets reinforced every single time you reinforce the behavior of stillness. So really, the reversal of that is simpler than you really think. You just have to move because your brain registers movement, and then therefore that label will shift. So not all the way, not permanently, not after one walk. You can't do one walk and think it shifts, but enough to interrupt the story. It's enough to create a different data point for your identity to really build from, right? So think about that. We're just asking you to move just a little bit. If you're sitting at your desk all day, just get up every hour or so and walk around the room and then sit back down. Number 2, or the second thing, is meaning that is really chosen and not inherited, because truly one of the cruelest things about the first act, the career, the life you built in your 30s and 40s, is that most of it was built on someone else's definition of success, right? We all think that. Not because you were weak or passive, but that's really how it worked. You enter a system that already has a metric. You get good at that metric, right? You optimize for that metric. And then you hit 50 or 60 and you realize that metric was never yours. So momentum that's built on borrowed meaning is really always temporary. You can push through, you can perform, you can succeed by every external measure, and you can feel absolutely nothing because the dopamine reward doesn't fire unless there's actual real meaning, unless it's your meaning. So the second requirement for momentum is really that architecture, right? Deliberately choosing, not discovering, not waiting to be inspired, but choosing what matters to you in this act of your life. And saying it out loud and writing it down and building your daily actions around it as if you've already believed that that's real, right? Because it is. So you have to think about that. Really think about that. And third, a structure that exists outside of your mood, because motivation is not really reliable. I mean, it's kind of like a scientific statement, not a criticism, okay? The research is a little vague. Willpower depletes, right? and motivation fluctuates. So really emotional states change by the hour. And I'm sure that you felt that way. So if you want to build momentum on the foundation of how you feel on any given morning, it's really building on quicksand, right? Because some mornings you get up and you feel great. I know this morning I got up, I didn't sleep last night. It was very weird. I just didn't sleep at all. So I just literally was reading and doing things to just keep my mind occupied. And what I realized was I was building momentum because I was starting to get excited. So what doesn't deplete is structure, right? A time of the day that belongs to something, a practice that is maybe so small it can't be argued with. Maybe a community that expects you to show up, or a tool that makes the next right action obvious. So knowing all of this and everything we've been working towards, Stacey and I, we built the Long Game app. And that was not because we wanted to have a habit tracker, because they work, but then you lose interest in it like everything else. But because really I watched hundreds of women and men build genuine momentum in coaching and then lose it the second that external support needed a container, right? One that's always there. So one that doesn't require you to be in the right mood all the time to use it. That's what we need. We need a container, right? The momentum needs a container. And that's what we kind of did. So I want to spend a little bit of time on the identity piece, because it's one of the most important, really counterintuitive, and still most important, because most of us believe that the sequence works like this. I do the work, I get the results, I become the person. Work first, identity second. You guys with me? That's what you've always been, get the job and that's your identity, right? Then you become that person. But the neuroscience says the opposite. Identity first and then action follows. And this isn't a motivational statement at all. This is a description of how the brain actually operates. So your brain is a prediction machine, right? It takes the information that's about you, who you are, your history, your patterns, your self-concept, and it uses that information to predict what action you're most likely to take. And then it generates that motivation to take that action. So when your self-concept says, I am someone who starts things and doesn't finish them, your brain generates motivation to start and not to finish, right? Not out of self-sabotage. It's out of prediction accuracy, right? It's matching the behavior to your identity. So when your self-concept says, I'm someone who moves every day, even before you've even built that streak, your brain starts generating motivation consistent with that identity. The behavior follows the belief. Remember, we're always saying here, just take the step, walk. You don't have to think that you're already there. Just do the action first. And that's why the challenge that I talked about is 21 days, not because habits form in 21 days. That's really a myth, okay? So if somebody says, do this in 21 days, it'll work. Because 21 days of consistent daily action in the same direction with the same intention really creates enough identity data for the shift to start sticking. So the brain starts to say, this is who this person is, which is really cool, right? You start acting that way. So I'm going to make this practical before I leave you guys, okay? So if you're in a momentum deficit right now, so if you have this great vision, you have this great desire, but you can't seem to consistently take action, I want you to do one thing this week. You've heard this so many times from us on this show. I want you to pick something you can do every day for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's it. That is in the direction of the person you want to become. Not the project and not the outcome. The identity. 5 minutes every day, non-negotiable. Surely you can find 5 minutes. What I love is when you wake up, if you have something to wake up to and you take that first 5 minutes, that's the start. And that's really it. You don't have to optimize it. You don't have to make it perfect. You don't have to wait until you have the full system in place. do the 5 minutes. Tell someone you did the 5 minutes and then just repeat it each and every day, because what you are doing is you're creating that identity data where you are giving your brain a new prediction to make about who you are. And from that new prediction, new motivation follows. New momentum will build. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. So remember, I mentioned the Defiant Second Act Challenge. It starts April 6th. It's free. It's 21 days, and it's built on everything that I just talked about. So if you want to build momentum that doesn't disappear on day 4, this is how. Remember, go to toolatemyass.com. You'll see the link there, or /21 days Second Act Challenge, and sign up. It's free. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you want the full operating system for your second act, not just the challenge, then you might want to join our TLMA inner circle where that absolutely lives. And again, just go to toolatemyass and you will find the link for Inner Circle. That's our membership that we're in each and every day. And right after this show, Stacy joins me and we do the backstage version of what we're talking about right now. A little more depth, and we get into some of the stuff that maybe we don't talk about publicly. So I'll see you next week. Keep going. The second act is not a consolation prize. So too late, my ass.
Thanks for listening to Too Late My Ass. If this episode made you feel seen or heard or a little more ready to take your damn life back, then go ahead and hit that follow button. If you want to go deeper, grab your free comeback kit at toolatemyass.com and join the Act 2 Insiders list for weekly tools, community, and reminders that your story is far from over. Remember, you're not done. You're just getting started. Too Late My Ass, produced by the City Media Group.